It is a balmy 40 degrees outside in Austin, Texas, nearly freezing. I want to give you some tips today on how to heat your job sites. I know all my northern buddies are making fun of me right now who are building or remodeling in the cold north, but no matter where you are in the country, a little bit of added heat in that house during construction can make a big difference for worker productivity and also for drying materials out, especially as you think about sheetrock or paint phases. Now there's kind of three ways that I heat my job sites, with this one being the most common that you see in America today. This is a propane heater. It's a convection heater. There's no electricity running this. We have a propane bottle on the outside. We run anywhere from a 20 gallon to 100 gallon propane. And that bottle's on the outside of the house with a cord running in. And you can run these units from anywhere from about 20,000 BTUs up to 200,000 BTUs. So we can get a lot of heat out of a heater like these. A lot of times you see the forced fan gas models. Those things are super loud, and I don't really like using those because I feel like working around those after a short period of time really gets to be a bugger. Whereas these convection heaters, they're a lot quieter. They're not silent by any means, but they're a lot quieter. A couple things you want to know about propane though. Number one, we've got an open flame here, and so we really need to take our fire protection very, very seriously. You can see here we're on a concrete slab. I've got non-combustible concrete wall next to me. If I was on a framed house and this was subfloor, we'd want to put a couple sheets of 5/8 Type X drywall down on the floor first. So if this thing tipped over, we wouldn't immediately cause a fire. The other thing you'll notice here is we've got our fire extinguisher right behind me here. We want to see that in a very close proximity to any open flame model like this propane heater. The next thing we want to talk about is gas storage. You know, this unit has anywhere from a 20 to 100 gallon propane tank attached to it, and we want to make sure that that propane tank is stored on the outside of the house. If we had a leak at the connection between that hose and that tank, we want to make sure that propane is going into the atmosphere and not getting into the house where it could be a problem for us. Carbon monoxide is always an issue anytime you have an open flame. So you want to make sure if your house is closed up and you're running one of these, that you've got a cracked window, you've got some airflow into this house. You never want to totally close up the house and run one of these. The thing that I don't like about propane, which I think is one of the biggest downsides, is that there's a lot of water added whenever you run a propane heater. There's a ton of water in that tank, and that when this thing burns, it's adding a ton of moisture to the house. So if we're in framing like this stage where we don't have sheetrock in yet, not as big a deal. But if we had finishes in this house, if we had hardwood floors down or cabinets or finished trim that was caulked, I'd be really worried about that extra moisture that's being added by these. Let's walk over to another part of the house and let me show you some better options. Okay, a better option than propane in my mind is a model like this. This is Quest's EHS31 temporary electric job site heater. A unit like this plugs in with a 220 line into your job site power, and you can either run it at 30 amps or 50 amps of power. And at 50 amps, like we've got plugged in here, I'm going to get 31,000 BTUs per hour. So not quite as much heat as we're going to get out of propane. And if I was plugged into a 30 amp circuit, let's say if you're a remodeling contractor and you're going to plug this into the client's dryer circuit or maybe their range circuit, you're going to get 18,000 BTUs out of it. But a huge number of advantages by running electric heat compared to propane. I'm not going to refill bottles. I'm not worried about fire safety. There's no open flame here. And the big one is job site safety in terms of carbon monoxide. I've got a carbon monoxide sensor on this job, but if I'm running these, I don't even need it. I can close down the windows. I can really seal up the house tightly. I'm not worried about additional airflow like I might be if I had a propane heater. And if I've got finished materials around the house, this one's also not adding additional water loads into the house like that propane heater is. So I can run this all through my hardwood phases, through cabinets, trim, paint. I'm not worried about that caulk cracking or separating from added moisture content in the air. And this one really is rated for continuous duty, so I can run this for weeks at a time in a house under construction and not have any of those concerns. A couple additional benefits of running an electric model like this is I've got a really nice filter on the top here. We want to make sure that we're not getting job site dust, drywall, things that are created by the carpenters into the unit. So you can drop a really nice 2-inch pleated media filter on the top of this unit, and that's going to give you the additional benefit of kind of knocking down any dust that's in the air in the house. One last benefit of a portable model like this is you've got a place on the side here that you can actually attach a duct to so it can be remoted into a bedroom. If you don't have 220 power to be able to use a unit like this, Quest has 2 other models in their lineup that you can hook up to 110 power, and you could connect up to 4 circuits to get 20,000 BTUs even out of a 110 heater. All right, so now we've talked about propane, we've talked about temporary electric heaters. Let me next show you the ultimate solution for year-round conditioning. Join me at this other job site. Behind me here is what I would consider the ultimate solution for job site conditioning. This is a heat pump package unit. So this is actually a 5-ton unit that's able to either heat or cool depending on what we've got the thermostat on the inside set for. And then you see here we've got ducts running to both sides of this large custom home under construction. We've got both supply ducts and return ducts. We basically take a window out, use a plywood cutout, and we can pump those ducts into there or take the return back out of there. It's a really nice setup. A lot of times my projects are 12 to 24 months, sometimes even longer. And this of course makes a lot of sense when you've got those long projects that are taking a while. If you've got smaller projects, I think the other job site heaters we showed you are gonna work really well for you. Also, once we set this up, we're done. We don't have to worry about heaters in the wintertime, moving those out and bringing air conditioners in the summertime. And it's gonna do a really good job of regulating our temperature on the inside. We're of course also gonna use some supplemental dehumes during construction, but these are gonna do a much better job of regulating that humidity inside that house for construction. If you'd like more tips on job site conditioning or anything about building or remodeling your house, you can visit my blog at mattreisinger.com. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.